All right, everyone, ready to dive into some classic literature? We're tackling Pride and Prejudice today.
Pride and Prejudice, such a great choice.
It really is. We're working from a children's adaptation, just to be upfront, but even so, Austen packed so much in. The language is a little simpler, but honestly, I think it helps sometimes to get right to the heart of the story.
Definitely.
I don't know about you, but anytime someone even says the title, that first line pops into my head. It is a truth universally acknowledged.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife.
Right, like bam, Austen's not wasting any time. We're in the world of marriage-obsessed England.
And it's not just a charming romance, though it is that too.
Yeah.
But Austen lays bare how much pressure there was on women, especially.
Oh, totally. Their whole futures, basically. And no one embodies that more than, like, Mrs. Bennet, right?
She is the ultimate stage mom of marriage. You can't help but laugh, but honestly, Austen makes you feel for her a little too. Like that pressure was real.
It makes her craziness almost understandable, in a way.
Exactly. So then we get Mr. Bingley, who's rich and eligible, and it's like all Mrs. Bennet's dreams just landed on her doorstep.
And then, of course, Bingley brings Darcy with him, and their first impressions, oof.
Darcy does not know how to make a good first impression.
Understatement. Tolerable, but not handsome enough to tempt me. Like, who says that?
And here's where it gets good. That's not all Darcy is. He's got this whole backstory, this upbringing that made him so awkward and, well, kind of rude.
Which is tough because then we meet Wickham, Mr. Charming himself.
Right. And he plays the victim so well. Poor, wronged Wickham, and Elizabeth, she's hooked on his story.
Like, who wouldn't be? He seems so genuine compared to Darcy. It's kind of like how we see people online sometimes, Perfect lives, but who knows what's really going on.
Oh, totally. Austen was so insightful about that kind of thing. But then we have Charlotte, Elizabeth's best friend, and she's the total opposite when it comes to marriage.
Charlotte is all about practicality. I mean, when Mr. Collins, who is, let's be honest, a total weirdo.
Oh, yeah, he's just something else.
He proposes to Elizabeth, and of course she's like, nope. But then Charlotte, she actually accepts his proposal.
And that is Austen showing us the reality for women then. Charlotte, she's not being romantic, she's being smart. A bad marriage was still better than being single in society's eyes. Kind of sad when you think about it.
It's like she's making us question what happiness even means, Austen was so good at that.
The best writers always make you think.
So much drama already, and we're not even halfway through.
Oh, just wait. It's about to get even juicier.
Lay it on me.
Okay, so picture this. The Netherfield Ball. Everyone's there, dressed to the nines, tensions are high.
Oh yeah, because Bingley and Jane, remember them? Everyone's waiting to see if he'll finally make a move. Poor Jane, though. She's so shy. I just wanted to yell at the book, go for it!
But that's a thing, right? In those days, a woman being too forward, it was like social suicide. Especially someone as sweet and unassuming as Jane.
It's easy to forget how different things were back then. Like, even a smile meant something totally different.
Oh, absolutely. Austen was a master of subtext. But anyway, back to the ball. Elizabeth and Darcy end up dancing together. Again.
Round 2. And it's just as awkward and sparky as the first time, right?
Even more so. They can't stand each other, or so they think. But under all that witty banter, there's this undeniable attraction.
The sexual tension is off HEE charts. It's amazing.
Total slow burn. Austen was the queen of that.
Okay, but speaking of awkward, we can't forget about Mr. Collins. After Elizabeth shoots him down, he proposes to Charlotte. Charlotte.
It's such a pivotal moment. Because on the one hand, you're like, girl, no, run. But Austen makes you understand why Charlotte does it. Marriage was her security.
Yeah, it's easy to judge from our perspective, but back then it was a whole different ballgame. Literally, in this case.
Exactly. It's like, what's worse, a loveless marriage or no marriage at all? Austen doesn't give us easy answers.
And just when you think things can't get messier, Jane gets that letter from Caroline Bingley.
Oh, Caroline, she's the worst. That letter is like a masterclass in passive-aggressive manipulation.
It's straight up ice cold. She isolates Jane, makes her doubt Bingley's feelings, and just... I wanted to reach through the pages and give her a piece of my mind.
Right. But see, Elizabeth, she sees right through Caroline's act, which ironically just makes her trust Darcy even less. She thinks he's in on it.
Classic miscommunication. They're both so blinded by their pride and prejudices. It's kind of painful to watch.
Exactly. And that's the heart of the story, isn't it? How our first impressions can be so strong that we twist everything to fit our narrative.
It's so true, though. We all do it. But okay, so things are a mess. Everyone's heartbroken. What happens next?
Well, Elizabeth, she goes on a trip with the Gardners, and guess who she runs into? At the grandest, most intimidating estate ever.
No way! Pemberley, Darcy's home turf.
You got it. And this is where things start to shift.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Pemberley. Talk about an awkward reunion.
Totally. But also, it's a turning point for Elizabeth. Seeing Darcy on his own ground, not at some stuffy ball, she starts to see a different side of him.
More human, less standoffish lord of the manor.
Exactly. He's kind to her relatives. He's got this whole other side that Wickham conveniently left out of his sob story.
Speaking of Wickham, what's the deal with that letter? I mean, Darcy writes this whole epic explaining everything.
It's a huge isk for Darcy, honestly. He's laying bare family secrets, his own mistakes, all to try and prove to Elizabeth that he's not the villain Wickham made him out to be.
And it works. She believes him. Well, not at first. It's hard to let go of those first impressions.
Yeah.
You know? And Elizabeth, she's got a good head on her shoulders. She's not just going to take Darcy's word for it.
Right. She's been lied to, manipulated. Who wouldn't be skeptical?
Exactly. But as she thinks it through, rereads the letter, the pieces start to fall into place. She realizes how much Wickham played her and how Darcy. Well, he might not be perfect, but he's definitely not the monster she thought he was.
It's kind of beautiful, though. Like, their relationship is built on this foundation of honesty, even when it hurts. Not many romances can say that.
So true. But just as they're both opening up, realizing their feelings, boom, Lydia elopes with Wickham.
Total chaos. I mean, for a family like the Bennets, that kind of scandal could ruin them.
And that's where Darcy, he just steps up. No fanfare, no hesitation. He just goes and fixes it.
He's like a Regency-era superhero. But quietly, you know? No capes or anything.
He finds them, makes sure they get married, saves the Bennet family's reputation. All while knowing Elizabeth will probably never even find out it was him.
Which makes it even more romantic. He's not doing it for brownie points. He's doing it because it's the right thing to do.
And that's what finally convinces Elizabeth. She sees his true character, his generosity, his loyalty. It's not about pride anymore. It's about who he really is at his core.
And she finally admits she was wrong. That takes guts. To own up to your mistakes, especially in matters of the heart.
It's a beautiful moment of vulnerability. And then, of course, we get the second proposal. No pressure, Darcy.
But this time, it's different.
Night and day. It's respectful, it's heartfelt, and most importantly, it's honest.
And they live happily ever after. Okay, maybe not that simple. But Austen leaves us with this feeling of hope that even with all the social pressures, the misunderstandings, that love can prevail.
It's a love story for the ages, truly. It's got wit, drama, social commentary. Austen really nailed it with this one.
And you know, even centuries later, Pride and Prejudice still resonates. It reminds us that first impressions can be deceiving, that we should always question our own biases, and that sometimes the greatest love stories are the ones that challenge us to grow and change. So, the next time you're quick to judge someone, take a page from Elizabeth and Darcy's book. You might just be surprised at what you discover.